You're listening to Copy Chief Radio. Get all the episodes and join the community at copychief.com.
Everybody, it's Kev Rogers. You know that because hopefully you clicked on purpose because you wanted to hear my voice. If not, oh my goodness, what have you done? That was a mistake. Welcome. It's great to have you here. I have my friend Brenna McGowan on today. Brenna is just doing so many things that impress me. First of all, she's been incredibly helpful to me, as she has with all of her clients, with helping me plan a pre-launch. We did one for an offer in December. And Brenna got on a call with me and my copywriter, Nick, for an hour, and had like an amazing chart for us to follow and said, here's everything you want to do to sell more in the pre-launch. You know, you have your launch event, that's about a week usually. And then there's a couple of weeks leading up to the launch that are critical. And I know this, I wrote launch copy for 12 years. As a freelancer. But guess what? I'm like everybody else, cobbler's kids running around barefoot. Wasn't doing pre-launch. Brenna laid it out for us, crystal clear, super simple. Send a few emails. I didn't even do the things a real studious client of hers would do, because I'm not, I'm a goof on social media. I don't do it the right way. And so doing about half of what she would normally have someone do. Get this, we sold out 40% of our entire sales before the card opened during a pre-launch. And get that this does not mean like, you don't sell hard during the pre-launch. It's all about bonding, building anticipation. What we did was get people on a wait list. And so we sold out 40% before the cart even actually opened. Incredible. This is how good Brenna is at this. And this has evolved. Her pre-launch is an amazing program. There's still too few people are using pre-launches, but it has evolved into this incredible concept that we're going to discuss today called anticipation marketing. It is Brenna's brainchild. It is the result of the work she's been doing in the lab with the beakers smoking and the white coats and, really paying attention to what works, what doesn't, optimizing. And those are the things we do in marketing and as creatives that lead to the concrete concepts that we can go out and implement. And so, Brenna, you've been an incredible example of exactly how people should develop as marketers. And I couldn't be more proud to be associated with you on this journey. So thank you for that. Thank you for your help with our stuff. So let's talk about what is anticipation marketing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here in those kind words. I'm very touched and very excited. We had such great results with your launch. And so anticipation marketing is a little term I've come up with because I started to notice, in general in life, we love to look forward to things. And I started to see like in our market where this isn't used enough. But more than that, I started to find out the more I research, and I'm still like developing this idea, is that how much our brains love anticipation. Like just looking at some of the studies that I looked at was like it increases happiness. It actually can give you a hit of dopamine. There's one study I read where it can actually increases focus. Like there's so many benefits to anticipation. But one thing I found that I thought was super cool was like in the 80s, there was a study that was done. And it actually showed that people value the rewards that are ahead of them more than the immediate ones. That anticipation of the future is actually a source of pleasure in and of itself. That we love to look forward to future events. And I was thinking about it. I just booked a vacation back east. And even though I spent $1 bazillion on the plane tickets, how excited I am just to go. Like, think about it. Christmas, it's not the actual day of Christmas. Right. Yes, we love Christmas, but it's everything that comes beforehand. Right. There's so much anticipation that is embedded into our culture. And I started to think, how can we embed this more into our marketing to make all of our marketing lives easier?
Yeah, I love that. I'm thinking of concert tickets. When I buy concert tickets, I'm so glad it's not 2 days away. I feel a little ripped off when I get like last minute tickets or something like, because man, it's just like a little happy part of your brain that knows something really great is coming that you're genuinely just joyful about.
Yeah. And there's so much of anticipation, whether it's our kids graduating high school, or sometimes you're sad. I was happy about that, like things like that. Just there's things that are constantly happening. And even if you look at like stores and how the retail market is, like Christmas is over and all of a sudden Valentine's Day stuff is out, right? And that's because of the anticipation of what's to come in these future events.
That's a really good point. Yeah. There's no gap anymore because they realize that. Tell me how you realized it. When did, because I know you've been in the trenches with the pre-launch stuff, right? And that is anticipation, really, if we think about it. But what parts of pre-launch started to evolve into this bigger concept?
So when I came up with the concept, if you will, to starting to niche into it, I knew pre-launch was needed, and especially with launches for several different reasons. But once I started to do it, I started to think, okay, why is this working so well? The clients that I started with were having amazing results, first launch, 70,000 out the gate, quadrupling previous launch results, like so many amazing wins. And I started to think, okay, now that I've created this concept of, or not created the concept of pre-launch, but started to put it into action. Now, let me reflect back on why I think this is working so well. And anticipation is definitely the cornerstone of why pre-launch does work and does help with marketing and sales.
For sure. And so how do we do that? We talked about how it happens sort of organically in other circumstances, right? What can we do to create that same dopamine drip leading up to a sale? Because a lot of people think, people get worried that they're bothering people, right? With a launch. Like that's a mindset sometimes. I know you've dealt with this with clients. It's like, well, I don't want to be like too over the top. And so how do we embrace the fact that the anticipation we're building is for them to spend money with us and not think of that as a greedy thing?
Well, first of all, when I'm working with people in pre-launch, I always say you're selling the process, not the product, right? People don't want to go out and buy your 12-week course. They want the benefit that comes with it, the transformation that comes with it. So when we can set up an environment with our sales where we are actually getting people excited for that transformation, where we're relieving the pain that they're going to have, in my mind, that makes it where I'm like, I'm happy to be talking about my thing because I'm not really bugging someone. If I am seeing someone where they are at, if I am recognizing their pain in an empathetic way, if I am showing them how they can get out of that pain, if I am alleviating or showing them maybe some of those roadblocks along the way, why they've been stopped, why it's not their fault. When we're able to help switch perspectives around the way we see things, then it becomes a very natural thing and not this overly salesy thing that we've come to know. I did a post on Instagram, a reel where I talked about okay, imagine for a moment in 30 days from now, first imagine a problem that you're having. And I'm not just saying in business, it could be anything. What's something that's going on? And what happens if I told you in 30 days, this problem is going to go away and we're going to take care of it? How would you feel? I can think of something off the top of my head right now where I'd be excited. I'm not going to have to think about this anymore. I'm not going to wake up in the middle of the night worrying about it, right? All of a sudden I'm happy and I'm excited. So we can lean into the desired transformation. That's what it really comes down to. We're not here to sell to make money. We're here to sell to help people. At least that's most of us are, right?
That's right.
So that's how I start to look at it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good sales tip. Don't forget, this one thing we have to always remember as copywriters. It's easy to forget because people get caught up in the data and the sales and the numbers. And it's what are we here for? What do we really want for the people who do give us money and enter into a program or buy a product or a training or whatever it is? And remember the emotions around that. That's what it comes down to. I think about Apple in the iPhone launches. Such an event. I mean, to get people to line up for hours to buy a thing that's very much like the thing in their pocket, the thing they're scrolling on, waiting for those hours they're going to get when it looks just like it. What is that? And give me some examples of this in the wild. What does it look like in the real world?
Right. Well, if you think about it, once the iPhone comes out, then That's it. Like the event is over. No one's clamoring to go get the old iPhone that's already, if anything, we're like, oh no, didn't get it last time. Now I'm going to hold out until the next release. Like, right. I'm already like thinking about how it's going to come out. I think my favorite recent example of this is Taylor Swift and her Eras tour. Now, I'm not in this, but from what I've read and heard from, I even had one client where she built up so much anticipation for her tickets. She did such a beautiful pre-launch that by the time you could actually buy the tickets, you were waiting online. I think some people waited 8 hours. It was, I think, her highest grossing tour. I think it might be, I should have looked at this before we got on. I think it's one of the highest grossing tours of all time at this point because of what she did in pre-launch. I remember being on Zoom with a client and her daughter, I think, came in and was like, did you sign up? Were you waiting? Are we good for the ticket release tomorrow? Right? Like that is what has happened. And it builds so much buzz. And even just, I talk about a lot of times, just even like a little bit smaller scale is just like every movie that comes out since forever. Movie trailers start coming out 120 days ahead of time. There's a reason for that. I had a trailer on my phone just the other day for one that's coming out in Memorial Day. So in February, I'm already seeing things for people to let me know. And I'm like, oh yeah, and I sent it to my sister. Like, we need to go see this movie. So this is what is happening. It's very, very normal in the retail world, entertainment world. And so it's like, why shouldn't we do some of these practices or strategies that are happening that are extremely effective and move them over into our online space?
And so does this require, so let's say, like you said, with the iPhone, we build up anticipation, we launch a product. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to come up with a different product next time, but do we need to have a new theme? How do we keep making, say we selling the same program every time? What can we do to build anticipation for it again?
I love that story. It's funny. I just have a client that went through the pre-launch plan program, and she actually just relaunched her program, had amazing results. I think she had like sold out 46% of her spots complete sold in pre-launch. But what we did is just a matter of tweaking, like when it comes to online courses, programs, or services, whatever we're pre-launching, is we can keep a lot of the same themes a lot of the times, but we're just switching out stories. We're looking for different hooks, different angles, things like that. So it's not a matter of reinventing the wheel. And I always talk about too, our businesses, our thought process, all these things are constantly evolving. Our voice of customer that we get back from clients, we'll hear a client say something different that is like actually strikes a chord with us. So when you have a process to do this again and again, yes, you are selling the same thing, but you're coming in with these different angles. And not to mention too, when I talk about pre-launch and building anticipation, you are having increased moments of visibility and being visible and creating that buzz, which also feeds into everything that we're talking about.
Look, I get it. I know there's so many communities, I'm doing air quotes, communities for entrepreneurs out there, all filled with their own version of overnight experts chirping at you from behind the screen. You got your Facebook groups, your clubhouse rooms, just experts galore. How often do you feel like you're being pinballed around from thing to thing and picking up a little bit, a little piece there? How much of that is actually making it into your brain and your fingers and your business and affecting your money? How many of these people are actually out there in the field getting their hands dirty and testing to find out what actually works and what flops? Well, in the Copy Chief community, a real community, you get shoulder to shoulder with the most active, successful marketers working in the trenches today, all while learning from industry legends who rarely teach anywhere else, if ever. Copy Chief is an amazing community, super newbie friendly. Also, you'll find, elite level marketers and copywriters in there. They're all working to become the best at their craft, get paid top dollar for their skills, stay ahead of the competition by keeping their finger on the pulse of what's working now. That's the X factor when you're backed up by a community and you can get any question you have answered by people who actually do this stuff and can tell you from real world experience what to do for your project, for your offer, for your funnel, for your clients. Man, you're unstoppable when you've got that kind of confidence. Go check us out at copychief.com/join. If you've never been a member, you're going to see what you've been missing and you're going to say, where has this been all my life? And if you've been a member in the past, I would invite you to come and check out all the new stuff. We've completely updated all the tech. So we're on brand new platforms. Everything is slick and smooth and easy to access. And it's never been better. Copychief.com/join. I'll look for you inside.
Yeah, that's so big. I didn't realize this until I did my first live event, how much PR collateral you get from doing that event and promoting it and talking about it. People like to see that people they follow got stuff going on. I would hear from all these people who are like, hey, either I'm coming to the event or, hey, man, I just see that you're doing this event. I'm so glad you're out there kicking ass. Like, I'm like, well, it hasn't even happened yet. Like, hopefully it'll kick ass. You know what I mean? And then you do the next one. And every time we would do them, I would say, wow, I would have never known if I didn't do this, that this means a lot to people. And like you said, it's important to be big and sort of noisy about the thing because you should be proud of it. It's so much easier sometimes to brag on other people than to go hard on your own stuff. But man, what you just pointed out there is a huge thing. Be omnipresent when you're building anticipation.
There's a few things that anticipation really does. One of them is like what we're talking about, creates buzz. But with the buzz, it actually increases like word of mouth marketing. It increases your own credibility, your own authority when you're doing these things, right? People are talking about you. It's when you start to hear, oh my gosh, you're everywhere. And you're thinking, I am. And it's just because you're generating this buzz to kind of get out. And this is what increases the momentum that helps. And I call it like the momentum here becomes the undercurrent of your launch and your promotion instead of the existential crises that we usually have when we're having this, right? Like that is what I want to lean into as well. And it also creates this like natural sense of urgency, instead of trying to create force urgency on people, when you have anticipation, it creates FOMO all on its own. And just like you were talking about your event, I bet you had people that are like posting like, hey, I just signed up for this. And then their friends hear it. So it creates FOMO, it creates urgency. I even saw something yesterday in a group that I was in about someone who had joined a program and they were so excited about it. They actually like posted in the group that they had joined the program. And it was like, oh, okay. Like these are the kind of things that we want to, instead of like making marketing and sales feel so hard, which sometimes it does feel heavy. It's like, okay, how can we use these things to our advantage? The other cool thing that I started to notice too is that anticipation can also increase your brand loyalty a little bit. It's the actual waiting for what it is creates an emotional connection. We always want to be the person that has first dibs on things. So when if you're having anticipation, if you're doing pre-sales, it actually starts to increase it. And if you've ever heard the term like, oh, that was so worth the wait, right? Like that's what we want. We want people talking about like we were worth the wait in terms of what we were selling.
Yeah, I love that. And also creatively, I've seen you do this a lot. You do this really well. Every time you're doing a pre-launch for your program, which is coming up, actually, the pre-launch plan. I think if people are hearing this on the release date of March 21st, on the 22nd, they can see you in action, essentially doing a pre-launch for your program. And where would they go to see that? Do we know the URL yet? Or am I jumping ahead of you?
No, but if you hit me up, I'll be doing an entire masterclass on Wednesday, the 22nd. And if you're on Instagram or on Facebook, just DM me at Brenna McGowan Co.
Find Brenna McGowan. Yeah. Okay. But my point was, every time you do one, you get to come up with a new thing or a new way to deliver some value, right? Like you did that great event with the Voxer messages, and again, you're pulling something from your real life because you're having all these amazing conversations with people over Voxer. If people don't know, it's almost like a walkie-talkie app. It's just really fun to use. And so you decided it's a shame that other people can't hear these because these are like there's real nuggets in here. And so you created a way to get permission from people to share those conversations. And it was just really original and cool and people loved it. You raised money for charity. again, that wouldn't happen if if your brain wasn't working on a way to make anticipation new again for the same event.
Yeah. Also, what I love about anticipation marketing too, is that you can do cool stuff that leads to whatever you have your natural tendencies for. And that's really what I've tried to lean into with everything I talk about with marketing when it comes to pre-launching and pre-sales. Is like, okay, let's figure out what feels good so that we can spread the word. And it just feels a lot easier when you're doing these things.
Yeah. Do you ever incentivize people to share stuff about the event or posts and things?
I personally haven't. I think you can 100%. I've spent a lot of time building community and friendships. So I haven't had to incentivize. I definitely think that there is opportunity. But the cool part is, if you are joining hands with other people that are doing something in similar industries and you're helping each other, once again, which comes really natural, is like, yeah, would you mind sharing this? And I'll talk about your thing. I just talked about helping someone the other day who's going to help me. So I definitely think you can incentivize and make it even better. But I think just being a nice human being and making friends, it makes it even better.
Yeah. I remember there was a trend for a while where people would, hold a contest or something. And if you could get 5 people to sign up for just like a wait list or join a list or something, you could win a prize or something, which was a cool concept for a while. But then, it always feels like a little needy in a way. But if you do it in the right way, it's like, okay, certain types of people want to be part of this, but there's nothing better than the genuine share, like you're saying, right? Or because people know what you do is good. They believe in you. Like you said, there's reciprocity there. I'd rather have a few important people sharing about a thing I'm doing rather than incentivizing people with gimmicks to go, it almost becomes like Amway at that point. You get 5 friends. It's like, hey, do me a favor. Will you just give your email to this? They don't have any intention of actually, you know what I mean? So there's cool ways to do things and there's cheesy ways to do things. But
and I will say too, if anyone ever pays me a compliment or sends me a nice text, or I am the first person to be like, hey, can I take a screenshot of this and use it? And then I will share it and then they end up resharing it. And that becomes like a real natural way too, especially if you're getting people great results, they naturally want to share or talk about it. I was updating my sales page for the pre-launch plan program, and I unfortunately was not as organized as I should be and spent, a couple of hours finding all of my little snippets. But people love to share when things are going well and talk about it. And so That's the cool part. And that's one of the things I really love about pre-launch as well. It's because pre-launch, not only when we talk about it in terms of anticipation, one of the other advantages is that you typically call in even better clients because people have had space to make decisions. They get great results. When they get great results, they're the first to shout you out. And then it goes into, once again, what I talked about, like that undercurrent of marketing, which is really what I'm trying to help people create in theirs, is that when you start doing all these things that we're talking about, it starts to do the heavy lifting instead of everything feeling so forced or feeling like you have to, incentivize 5 people. My goal is that it becomes this natural thing that happens and becomes like an ethos of everything that you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Love it. Very organic. So here we are wrapping up Q1 of 2023. It has been an eventful year in the world of marketing, online marketing, to say the least. Why do you think anticipation marketing is important in this crazy year?
First of all, I think if you start to do some of the things I'm talking about, you have a true advantage because most people aren't doing it. So I think that's the first reason, is that as I'm sure the more I talk about it, other people talk about it, this will become more of the norm. I think you can kind of get in. I also think too, between whether it is market saturation, inflation, recession, all of those things, right? That it's becoming a little bit harder of a sales environment. You hear whispers that, people aren't buying as much. Course sales are down, program sales are down. So doing some of these things can really take not just the edge off your marketing and your launch process, but start really increasing and giving you better results overall. When you're talking about something and you're building all this buzz, anticipation, momentum weeks beforehand, before you actually put an offer in front of someone, most of the time it just naturally starts to increase your sales. Part just like what you talked about with what we did on with your last launch, right? Being able to sell out 40 spots ahead of time, 40% of the total spots, and actually go 30%, if I believe, over your actual goal of what you wanted. Well, that happened because of all of this. And if you really watch some of these bigger, larger campaigns that are happening, this is what they're doing. This is why they're able to have such huge numbers, is because they're spending a lot of time building anticipation inside their pre-launch that helps lead towards their overall sales.
Yeah, it's great. I was thinking about the Super Bowl was, last month, and a big football fan. And so on the day, like the day before the Super Bowl, I was like a little sad. I was really excited for the game, but I was like, oh man, that's it. That's the last game, It's everything we're talking about. It's emotional, but it's like, it's not life or death, but you do have all these emotions. And I love the way you're digging into the science behind that. There's ways that we can manufacture those emotions in a fun way that's very genuine and fun to play around with and try different stuff. Really cool. Anticipation marketing, the new Brenna McGowan brainchild, is here and evolving fast. Definitely want to be a part of Brenna's pre-launch. I can't see why you wouldn't want to understand how to do better pre-launch. But if you do nothing else but watch Brenna perform a pre-launch herself, since she is sort of the queen of the pre-launch, then you need to do that. So make sure you're following Brenna on Instagram. She's very present there. Facebook, website, Brenna?
BrennaMcGowan.co.
There you go. .co, not .com, .co. And just be in Brenna's world. She's innovative. She's doing a lot of amazing stuff. You're going to learn a lot from her. So Brenna, thanks for being here again. It's always great. And can't wait to hear how the launch goes. And I'm sure we'll be talking more about anticipation marketing as it evolves.
Hey, don't forget your goodies. Head over to copychief.com/copychiefradio to get some great free stuff to help you put the things you hear on the show into action for your business. copychief.com/CCR.